Good afternoon, class. I thought I'd give you a brief rundown of Essay 1, which is your narrative or narration essay that you will be working on over the next few weeks. I'm already getting some questions about that, so I want to go ahead and briefly talk a little bit about what you need to do as it relates to your narrative essay, some of the rules, parameters, that type of stuff, and what you really need to have turned in by this Sunday, which is really the rough draft of your essay 1. It's really going to be a two-part peer review session. Part 1 will basically be uploading your 3-page or 750-word rough draft of essay 1 by this Sunday, and then next Sunday you will have 5 questions that you will have to answer by reading one of your classmates' rough draft. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. We'll get into it a little bit over this video, but definitely next week we'll talk a little bit more in depth as it relates to that particular part of the rough draft process. So what I'm going to do is we're going to talk through the actual Essay 1 instructions, which you can find in your week 1 folder. Now keep in mind, these folders, right, are only going to last from Sunday to Sunday. So any of the information that you find on these folders, if you think you're going to need it for next week or a week after or week 4 or week 7, you might want to go ahead and download it and print it out and keep it in a safe folder so you can retrieve it, because Sunday at midnight, week 1 folder is going to close out. This Thursday at midnight, the week 2 folder will start to open up. So you'll have a little overlap there, a 3 or 4 day period. If you want to go ahead and get ahead for next week's stuff, you can. Just know that usually the folders run Sunday to Sunday. So just keep that in mind as we move ahead. I hope everybody's able to log on. I did send out an email earlier. Remember, with online courses, a little bit different than in-person courses in the sense that you have to be present somehow. And really what they want you to do, since this is the first week of our fall semester, is that everybody needs to log into their Blackboard account into the class 3 days within the 3-day period. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, definitely by Wednesday midnight. If you haven't logged in, you need to, because what's going to happen is day 4, which would be Thursday for us, they're going to want us to put in no-shows, and that's basically people that have not logged into their Blackboard account. And you will probably be dropped from the course if you are considered as a no-show. So please log in. You have until Sunday to submit your rough draft. You don't necessarily have to submit that by Thursday unless you're just ready to do so, but you definitely need to log in, look through the course, look at the syllabus. I posted and I sent out a 2-part video, part 1 and part 2, that sort of talk about the course overall. It goes through the syllabus. Please look at those particular videos moving ahead, because again, by Sunday, a lot of that stuff is just going to close out on. So I'm going to show you the Essay 1 instructions. And really, this is sort of your parameters that you're going to need. It needs to be an MLA 9 or 8 format. We'll talk a little bit more about that. I'll probably send some information about that format. Actually, I could probably show you here, especially if you're using Microsoft Word, where you can find that format at. So it needs to be double spaced. Everything needs to be double spaced. It needs to be in the font size 12 Times New Roman. So again, you want to go up here and find Times New Roman, click on that, keep it in size 12. Double space, there's a couple ways you can do that. I can show you where there is an actual MLA format where you'd have to just erase everything and then you can start typing, and everything should still remain in the MLA format that you would need. The actual final draft of this paper is due on Thursday, September 9th. There will be a Dropbox in that weekly folder. I believe that's week 3 folder. There will be a Dropbox. You're basically going to have to upload your Microsoft Word attachment. A word about attachments. I can read anything that's generally Microsoft Word, especially if it's the updated version of Microsoft Word. If you're using something different, I can't guarantee I can download and read it. So if I can't download and read it, that means you're going to get a 0 if you turn in something as your final draft and I can't download and read it. PDF files, I can read PDF files, but the deal with them is I can't mark them up. So that's why I say, even when you're sending me drafts, and I recommend that you send me and SmartThinking as many drafts of this paper before September 9th, so you can get the best possible grade or the highest possible grade on this first major essay assignment. If you don't send it as a Microsoft Word file, then I can't mark it up. And if I can't mark it up, then it's not going to do you any good, because you're not going to be able to get the constructive feedback that you need. So try to avoid sending PDF files. If you send the PDF file as your final draft, I'm just going to read it and give it a grade. If you want feedback, then you need to send stuff as Microsoft Word document. So it needs to be 3 pages or 750 words. Now again, if you're doing a double space and you're using the MLA format, Times New Roman 12, the 750 words will probably get you close enough to 3 pages. So if you get the 750 words and you still find yourself at the end of page 2, but you said everything that you needed to say, then obviously stop. I don't want to read a bunch of fluff. You don't need to write a bunch of fluff. If you get to the bottom of page 2 and you're only at 657 words, but still have a little bit more to say, then obviously go to your 3rd page. When I mean 3 pages, I really mean 3 pages. I don't really mean 5 pages. I don't mean 1.5, 3 or 750 words. Whatever comes faster to you or closest to you is what you need to sort of go by. So the topic here really is going by this initial quotation. It's about adulthood to some degree. And if you look at this particular quotation, it says, "Hi, I finished my free trial of adulthood and I am no longer interested. Thus, I want to cancel my subscription. Is there a manager I can speak to?" So if you look down here at this other paragraph, it says, "By using the quotation above," which is this one, "as your prompt, write a narrative essay on a specific event that made you desperately want to find a manager to cancel your free trial subscription of adulthood." So think of a time, at this point, if you're taking this class, we assume that you're an adult 18 years or older. So think of a time that adulthood really has been a drag. Maybe you had to pay your first electric bill, or forgot to pay your first electric bill and realized, hey, it's $250. You didn't look at when the due date was due, and when you came home, everything was dark. You couldn't turn on any of the lights. Electricity was basically shut off, and you're sort of desperately trying to figure out what is going on, because this is your first time having to pay bills. Maybe a specific event was you became a parent for the first time, right? Even though adult or parenthood is really, it is a pleasure to be a mother or father. I'm a father of 2 beautiful young daughters, but there's times sometimes, especially if you're that first parent, that you would really rather go back to when you were a 16 or 17-year-old and you didn't have the responsibility of having to take care of somebody else, especially at a young age. And especially, we know that there's no manual that could really prepare you for being a mother or a father. So everything that you do at first, you think you're screwing it up. maybe it's taking your first college class. You know, you're transitioning from being a high schooler where you're still relatively carefree and able to do a lot more things at a different pace, and now you're enrolled in college classes, and it's a little bit different than that 11th or 12th grade class that you remember. Maybe it's a first job, something that, you know, while being an adult, you wish you can cancel being an adult for that particular period and maybe go back and be that 13 or that 17-year-old or whatever age it was before you really became an adult. Now, a lot of folks think that, you know, the age 18, 19, 20, 21 is when, you know, legally that's when you become an adult. But some folks, especially how your upbringing, you know, sometimes you become an adult a lot sooner than you want. Sometimes you become an adult when you're 14, right? You're just entering freshman year of high school, but now you're already an adult because maybe you have a parent that is absent from the household. Maybe they're sick, maybe they're in jail, maybe they've passed. And you got younger siblings that you're going to have to not only look out for, but you're sort of becoming the role of the adult figure in their life because maybe that other parent that is still in your life is having to work long hours. So you may have to not only make sure that you're getting your homework and stuff done, but when you come home at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you may have to make sure that little brother and little sister are also doing their homework, are also cleaning their room, doing chores to keep the house up. Maybe you're having to cook a couple of days a week. So that's really tough, especially if you're 14 years old and you're having to be mother and father to younger siblings, because you wish that you could be, you know, basically a teenager or preteen. So think about some ideas there that you can write on. You probably want to go through the brainstorming process. If you read some of the stuff that involves this week's reading from your OER, it talks about knowing your purpose, knowing your audience, knowing your tone. So really the purpose would be to directly write a narrative essay on this particular quotation, right? That focuses on a specific event. Because it only needs to be 3 pages, I would try to focus on just one event. Don't try to cram about 15 events in there because it's just not going to make sense, and you're going to be, you may have more to say on one event and less to say on the other one. So I would find one primarily specific event that makes you want to cancel being an adult for that period, right? You're thinking about being a teenager again or a younger version of yourself again, because adulthood at that moment is just too stressful, too overwhelming, too much to handle. And we all go through those periods. This is one topic that everybody can kind of relate to. And you may go through this period again, you know, when you're in your late 20s, in your late 30s, in your late 40s, right? Being an adult, that doesn't necessarily become easier as you get older. Some of y'all may know that already, depending on what your age is. So just keep that in mind. If you go back to the main page, and I'm going to try to pull that back up, I do have some information here that will help you. As you're reading, right, pages 16 through, or 6 through 16, pages 44 through 53, and then again that part on narration, 88 through 94 in your OER textbook. I give you some additional information if you need to know a little bit more about the writing process or becoming a successful writer, or a little bit more about narration. Think of this as being a creative piece. You can add dialogue to this particular essay. Let's say it's you and maybe 1 or 2 other characters, if you want to go that way. You want to be careful about turning this essay into a play or to drama. We're not trying to do that. We're strictly trying to write a narrative piece. You're telling a story. It should have a beginning, middle, and end. And I probably will send some information out about adding dialogue to your narrative piece. And there's probably some information in here, if you click on narration, that'll probably tell you a little bit more about dialogue and that type of stuff. Some of these are going to be websites. Some of these may be like a slideshow or a PowerPoint, which will give you some additional information if you need it. So the assignment really for this week is for you to write on that particular narrative prompt, get as close to 3 pages or 750 words as you can. And then what you're going to do is obviously you're going to save that as a Microsoft Word document. And then you're going to come here before 11:59 this Sunday, and you're going to upload that particular rough draft. That's all you got to do is upload a rough draft. Next week, part 2 will kick in. That's where you're going to answer these 5 questions after you read a classmate's rough draft. So you have to at least read somebody else in the class's rough draft of Essay 1 to be able to get the other 50% of your grade. So the first part, the first 50% of your grade, which should be really easy breezy after you get your draft written, typed, saved. You want to do as much proofreading and editing as you can. You can send me drafts between now and Sunday if you want. You can send drafts to Smart Thinking. I'll talk a little bit more about that here maybe momentarily. But that'll be 50% of your grade. The other 50% comes next week when you read a partner's rough draft, because you should be able to, after everybody loads up their paper this week, you should be able to click on somebody's and download their draft, and they're going to have to do, they're going to have to do the same thing for you. And hopefully, as they read through your 3 pages, they should be able to answer these questions and provide feedback, constructively, what will help you make that piece be better than what it is, week 1. So next week, you're going to hopefully be able to get some of this feedback in, not only from Smart Thinking, myself, but some of your classmates. That way you have at least, 2 to 3 sets of eyes looking at the first essay. So by the time we come back from Labor Day, you have something that you're very proud of and that you can turn in and hopefully get your A on that particular essay. So if you look, we have, this is week 1. 23rd basically through the 29th. Week 2 kicks in the 29th through the 5th. We do have a holiday, Labor Day being the 6th. Of course, that doesn't really matter so much for us because you're not having to go to a campus. So really, we still have from the 5th through the 12th for week 3, but notice the 9th is a Thursday, not a Sunday. So the 9th is when you're going to have to turn in your final draft. And again, there will be a Dropbox for that. I hope that cleared up a little bit about Essay 1, what you need to do as it relates to the topic, what you need to do this week as it relates to what is due as a grade, right? Your rough draft will count as a grade. We will talk a little bit more about the syntax, which deals with your grammar. Again, you want to read pages 195 to 204 in your book. They talk a little bit more about that. There are some practice exercises. You may want to tackle a little of those because in a couple weeks when you have your quiz, the quiz is going to cover some of the grammar that you've learned up to that point. So I think the first quiz happens in week 4. So basically whatever grammar-wise that we learn in week 1, 2, 3, and 4 is all fair game for the quiz. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as it gets closer. In the past, what I did, because I don't really offer extra credit, what I will do as it gets closer to December, because we're going to have 5 quizzes, 4 of them are going to involve grammar. And then the last quiz is basically going to be MLA documentation and citation as it relates to your research paper. What I will do instead of having extra credit is I will drop your lowest quiz grade. So I drop 1 of the 5, right? That will help, especially if you didn't do so well. Let's say you had a bad week or a bad day or whatever when you took a quiz. I will drop whatever your lowest grade is. So just keep that in mind as we move ahead. Let me show you real quick the MLA format I was talking about. So if you're in Microsoft Word, you should be able to go up to File, and you should go to New. And you're going to have all these documents. Sometimes, depending on how many documents you have up here, you might be able to find it in this page. There's this one right here where it says MLA style document. But let's say that you don't know what to do. You can't really find that document. So you want to go up to the search bar and type in MLA. And then you want to search for it. And it's probably going to give you a couple. It's going to give you a research paper. It's going to give you an MLA style paper. So either one of those first two will be great. I'm going to click on the research paper. So, and I'm going to drag this over because now it's just a shell. It's a skeleton format. So where it says your name, you're going to erase all this and you're going to put your name. So I'm going to use mine, Patrick Wilson. And it says instructor name, again, Mr. Wilson. Course number, you can just put ENGL, abbreviate English, and put 1101. Now, if you're in 1102 or 1010, and you're going to put that course number there. The date, I would put the date that the actual assignment is due. So in this case, no matter it's a rough draft or not, I would go ahead and put the date that it's due, so you're not having to remember, hey, when it's due, you can see it. At that point, you want to go up here where it says last name. You want to double click on that. You want to erase this, keep the number where it's at, put your last name, and then double click. And as we go through, as you can tell, Wilson 2 is already there, Wilson 3, Wilson 4. So each new page that you get to, your last name should carry along. Now, the other thing is your essay needs to have a title. You don't necessarily have to have a subtitle unless you want it, but you need to call it something besides essay 1 or paper 1. Just don't give me something that has no title. It has to reflect the writing that comes afterwards. So in this case, you could say, let's see. And you want to make sure that your title is centered. So you could say woes of adulthood or something of that nature. I'm just showing you what yours needs to sort of look like. It doesn't necessarily need to be a complete thought. You don't have to give me a 5-line or a 15-sentence title. It could be just as short as this. It could be in a fragment. If you think about movie titles, Star Wars is 2 words. Think of TV shows, Law and Order. It doesn't necessarily, like I said, have to be a complete thought, but it needs to reflect. So when I see this title, I'm thinking, okay, you're going to be telling me about the troubles that you had of adulthood throughout the next 3 pages or 750 words. So if you look here, it already sort of gives you some instructions. You can kind of read over this because it kind of tells you what MLA. In this case, it's MLA 7, but in a lot of ways, it's still MLA 8 and MLA 9. The rules are sort of similar. So you can kind of read that. But if you kind of already know what the format is, you don't really need a works cited page for this particular paper because it's just a personal narrative. You're not doing any research yet. So what I would suggest is that you just highlight all this stuff because you're not going to need it up until the title here. Get rid of it. And if you look, it's already putting stuff like that first paragraph. You always want each additional new paragraph that you write or create, you want to indent 5 spaces or 1 tab. But I'm going to show you, if you use this particular template that's already built into your Microsoft Word, as you can tell, I'm just putting up a whole bunch of X's, but if you look, it's double spaced. You don't have to worry about, is it double spaced or not? If you click, it's already Times New Roman 12. It's already the 1-inch margins all the way around. So you can just, only thing you have to do is just delete all this stuff, put the stuff that you need in there and start typing, and you'll be good to go. And this is the format that we're going to use throughout this semester with all our major essays. So you don't have to worry about using a different format that like APA in this class or Chicago or Harvard or Yale. We're using MLA. And the reason why I'm showing you, because see that now we went to page 2 and it still stays in the same. You're in Times New Roman 12. It's still 1-inch margins. We still have your last name and a page number, and it's still double spaced. So you have all this stuff sort of built into your Microsoft Word program. Once you do that, then obviously you go up here. I usually tell folks to hit save as. If you're going to save it to a thumb drive or something, that is when you're going to connect it to your computer. A lot of times I tell folks to save it to the desktop, name it something that you're going to be able to remember and see, because when you save it, it will pop up, right up here on your desktop. You'll be able to double click on it and do whatever you need to do. But definitely you want to save it as a Microsoft Word file, because again, if I can't download it, if I can't read it, then the only grade I can give you when you turn in that final copy is a 0. Now, again, be wary, because you're going to have to upload your rough draft by this Sunday. So you want to make sure that your classmates can also download it and read it. If they can't download it and read it, then they can't give you any positive feedback. In a lot of ways, you just sort of gypped yourself out, because if nobody can read your work, then you're going to get a 0 after this Sunday, because we can't read your rough draft. So just make sure that you're using the right, document program to help you get the best possible grade. So the other thing is, this is the video that I sent out. Again, it's there. It's part 2. If you're wondering where part 1 is, if you go to your announcements, part 1 is right above part 2 there, or you can check your email. I should have sent a link by over the course of last week or so. So that is pretty much, besides the grammar, and I will come back and probably talk a little bit more about that later in the week, because I think right now you probably have enough, if this is your first time taking an online course, trying to figure out all the little issues with how to log in, log out, check your email, that type of stuff. But this will sort of give you a head start when you think about doing SA1, because really that's the major thing that everybody needs to be working on as it relates to rough draft. Upload the rough draft, and then get ready to read a partner's rough draft and start answering these 5 questions based on this CARE method. Otherwise, please email me. I will, be in touch. If you need help with anything, please reach out. Don't wait until the last minute. Otherwise, that's where problems start to really creep up. And when it becomes week 2, problems really start to creep up if you haven't really resolved some issues with week 1. So please let me know if there's anything I can do to help. I'm here to assist. I want to help. Otherwise, if you sort of get what we need to be doing and you know what to do, then go ahead and start drafting that rough draft, start typing it, get ready to upload it. I wanted to show you real quick about smart thinking, in case that you wanted to upload your rough draft. Now, if this is your first semester, it may take a week or so to get everybody's information up into smart thinking. But if you go to your main, and this is the main college website, if you go all the way over to where it says My CPTC and look down to where it says, well, let's see, go to services. Go to services and look where it says tutoring services. Click there. I believe the information they give you for your username and your password here is a little bit outdated. I had to double check an email that I received over the summer to see. I have to sort of cross-reference to make sure that this and that pretty much are the same information. If it's different, I'll send you some information via email, definitely throughout the week. But you would click on here, and then it's going to prompt you to put in that username and that password, which only you know. I don't know your username. I don't know your password. So if this is your first time, you're probably going to have to set one up. If you've been here for a little bit and if you use that, then chances are your username and your password should work, unless your password sort of expired, and then you're going to have to change that and make a whole new one. But again, I would probably try to use this toward the end of the week, because right now it's so crazy. The first 2 days is really crazy of any new semester, especially for new students, because they're trying to get all their information loaded into their system, because smart thinking doesn't just cater to this college. It caters to a lot of colleges throughout the states, and it may actually go worldwide. I'm not really sure, but this is a really good place that if we offer a course here at CPTC, chances are you're going to find a tutor that will help you in that course. So if you're taking math, this is a really good service to use. If you're taking psychology or history or nursing even, you can find tutors on there that will help you. All right, so I'm gonna end this video now. I'm gonna load it up so you have it. It's through your Teams account. So to be able to get onto your Teams account, basically you're gonna use the same information that you use to log into the computer properly, being your student email as your username and whatever your password is. So again, you're gonna know your password, not me. So make sure that whatever password you have, that you remember it, that you know what it is, because otherwise, if you start logging in and it locks you, if you try to do it unsuccessfully 3 times, it's going to lock your account out, and you're going to have to call somebody in the IT department to be able to have them reset it for you so you can get back into your email and your Blackboard page. So please don't. Hopefully that won't happen to you, because it does get frustrated, especially if it happens over the weekend and there's nobody here to help you until Monday. All right, until we meet again, I hope everybody has a good first day, a good week 1, and I look forward to working with everyone here coming up. Thank you.